Mateo stared at the washing machine. It had stopped. His favorite white shirt, the shirt he needed for his job interview tomorrow, was trapped inside. It was wet, soapy, and stuck. To start the machine again, he needed 75 cents. He dug his hand into his pocket and pulled out a handful of mixed coins. He saw a small copper one. He saw a fat silver one. He saw a tiny, thin silver one. Which one was 75 cents? Which one was a quarter? Which one was a dime? He tried to put the fat silver coin into the slot. Clink. The machine rejected it. He tried the tiny silver coin. Clink. Rejected again. The laundromat was closing in 10 minutes. If he didn't figure out this money puzzle right now, he would go to his interview in a wet, soapy shirt. But before we see if Mateo saves his shirt. Hello, English learners. Welcome back. I am your teacher, and today we are going to solve a mystery that confuses almost every visitor to the United States: money. In this episode, you will learn English by listening to the story of Mateo, a newcomer, who gets confused by American coins. We will explain the penny, nickel, dime, and quarter, so you never have to worry at a cash register again. To help you, we will focus on 3 specific power words that you will hear in the story: currency, denomination, and exact change. Are you ready to make sense of the dollars and cents? Let's go to the laundromat. Mateo had arrived in Chicago 3 days ago. He loved the tall buildings and the deep dish pizza, but the money was a headache. In his home country, the coins had numbers on them. If a coin was worth 10, it had a big 10 on the face. But American currency was different. Let me explain that word. Currency is the system of money used in a particular country. The dollar is the currency of the United States. Mateo stood in the Spin Cycle, a 24-hour laundromat on 5th Street. It was raining outside, and he was the only customer, except for an older woman reading a magazine in the corner. Mateo looked at his wallet. He understood the paper money, the bills. He knew the $1 bill, $1, had George Washington on it. He knew the $5 bill, $5, had Abraham Lincoln. He even had a $20 bill, $20, which the ATM gave him. But the washing machines didn't take paper bills. They only took coins. Specifically, they wanted quarters. Mateo poured his pocket change onto the top of the washing machine. He looked at the confusing metal pile. First, he picked up a copper-colored coin. It was brown and shiny. It had a profile of a man with a beard, Abraham Lincoln again. 1 cent, it said on the back. This was a penny. Mateo knew a penny was worth almost nothing. You need 100 pennies to make $1. He put it down. It was useless for the machine. Next, he picked up a silver coin. It was thick and smooth on the edge. It was bigger than the penny. 5 cents, it said. This was a nickel. Mateo did the math. The machine needed 75 cents. If he used nickels, he would need 15 of them. He only had 2. He felt frustrated. Why was this so complicated? He picked up the 3rd coin. This one was the most confusing of all. It was silver, but it was tiny. It was the smallest and thinnest coin in the pile. It looked like it was worth nothing. 1 dime, it said. Mateo thought, dime. What is a dime? Is it 5 cents? Is it 1 cent? He tried to put the tiny coin into the machine slot. It fell right through and came out the return slot at the bottom. Clatter. Hey, honey, a voice called out. Mateo jumped. It was the older woman in the corner. She put down her magazine and walked over. She had gray hair and a kind smile. Her name tag said, Betty. You look like you're fighting with the machine, Betty said. Do you need exact change? Let me stop here. Exact change means the precise amount of money needed, with no extra. If something costs 75 cents, and you give 75 cents, you have exact change. I am confused, Mateo admitted. He pointed to the tiny silver coin. This one. It is so small. Is it worthless? Betty laughed. It was a warm, raspy laugh. Oh no, sugar. That's a dime. That's worth 10 cents. Mateo's eyes went wide. 10. But the nickel is bigger. The nickel is worth 5. Why is the small one worth 10? Welcome to America, Betty chuckled. It doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. The dime is small, but it buys more than the nickel. She pointed to the pile. You need the big boys. The quarters. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a large, silver coin. It had a rough edge, ridges that you could feel with your thumb. It was heavy. It had the face of George Washington. This is a quarter, Betty said. It's worth 25 cents. It's called a quarter because it is 1/4, or 25%, of a dollar. You need 3 of these to start that washer. Mateo looked at his pile. He didn't have any quarters. He only had bills. I only have this, Mateo said, holding up a crumbled dollar bill. Well, Betty said. You're in luck. I'm a walking change machine. I'll trade you. Mateo is about to learn the value of his money. But before he washes his shirt, let's pause and look at those 3 power words. Word number 1, currency. This is the money system used in a country. For example, the yen is the currency of Japan. The euro is the currency of France. The dollar is the currency of the USA. Example, when I travel, I always exchange my money for the local currency at the airport. Word number 2, denomination. This is a fancy word for the value, or face value, of a banknote or coin. A $10 bill and a $20 bill are different denominations of the same currency. Example, the ATM only gives out cash in $20 denominations. Word number 3, exact change. This means paying the specific price, without needing money back. Bus drivers and vending machines often require this. Example, the bus driver was angry because I didn't have exact change for the fare. Got it? Currency, denomination, exact change. Now, let's go back to Betty and Mateo. Betty took Mateo's $1 bill. She smoothed it out. Then, she counted out 4 large, silver coins into his hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, Betty counted. 4 quarters make $1. 25, 50, 75, $1. Mateo held the 4 quarters. They felt heavy. They felt valuable. Thank you, Mateo said. You saved me. I have a job interview tomorrow. You'll do great, Betty said. Just remember, don't use the pennies for the bus. The bus driver hates pennies. Mateo laughed. He turned to the washing machine. He took 3 of the quarters. He put the first one in the slot. Ka chunk. It went in perfectly. He put the second one in. Ka chunk. He put the third one in. Ka chunk. He pressed the start button. The water started flowing. The soap bubbled up. His shirt was going to be clean. Mateo looked at the 1 quarter left in his hand. He looked at the tiny dime, the fat nickel, and the brown penny on the table. He finally understood. Penny equals 1 cent. Nickel equals 5 cents. Dime equals 10 cents. Quarter equals 25 cents. He sat down on the bench next to Betty. Betty, he asked, why is the dime smaller than the nickel? Betty smiled and turned the page of her magazine. Honey, the dime used to be made of real silver. Silver is expensive. So they had to make it small. The nickel was made of, well, nickel and copper. Cheap stuff. So they made it big. Mateo nodded. It was a history lesson in his pocket. 20 minutes later, his shirt was clean. He felt ready for his interview. He felt ready for Chicago. He walked out of the laundromat into the rain, jingling the coins in his pocket. He wasn't just carrying metal anymore, he was carrying knowledge. Mateo learned that money is more than just math, it is a language. Once you understand the vocabulary of the coins, life becomes much easier. The moral of the story is this: don't judge value by size. Sometimes the smallest things, like the dime, are worth more than the big things, like the nickel. Now, I have a question for you. In your country, do you use coins or mostly paper bills? And which coin is the most confusing for tourists? Tell me about your money in the comments below. If you want to understand American culture and improve your English vocabulary, click subscribe and listen to this episode next. We are going to learn about tipping in restaurants, another confusing money topic. Thank you for listening. Keep your exact change ready, check your denominations, and I'll see you in the next story.